Debt, Desperation, and the Shaping of America, from debtor's prison to the Wild Wild West. In the 17th and 18th centuries, England's unforgiving bankruptcy laws cast a long shadow over the lives of ordinary people. Debtors lived in a constant fear of debtors' prisons. These were grim institutions where they were held without basic necessities until their debts were miraculously paid. To escape this grim fate, many chose a daring gamble, a new life in the American colonies. There, bankruptcy laws often tilted in favor of the debtor, a radical shift from the creditor-centric practices of England. This resentment towards British debt practices lingered as a bitter memory when the U.S. Constitution was drafted. While the debtors' prisons weren't immediately abolished, the federal government was granted the power to establish bankruptcy laws. This paved the way for the Bankruptcy Act of 1800, signed by President John Adams. It was a milestone. Debtors could discharge their debts, gain release from prison, and even sue for damages if they had been wrongly accused. Farmers' fortunes and Western migration. Throughout the 19th century, America remained predominantly agricultural nation. Most farmers relied not on banks, but on local merchants for credit or barter. A single bad harvest could shatter a farmer's livelihood, sending families on a desperate westward trek seeking better land and a fresh start. Debt and the struggle against it fueled a significant portion of America's relentless westward expansion. History offers poignant examples. The Pacific of 1810 an economic crisis drove countless debtors to seek refuge in Texas, which had become a haven for those fleeing financial ruin. To this day, the Texas Constitution enshrines strong borrower protections, like restrictions on wage garnishment, a legacy of those turbulent times. Loan sharks and borrower shame. Urban areas weren't immune to the perils of debt. The late 19th century witnessed the rise of loan sharks, ruthless lenders offering high-interest, short-term loans that trapped desperate workers in a cycle of poverty. These lenders understood the power of shame. They hired baller-outs, often loud, brazen women, to publicly berate borrowers outside workplaces. This humiliation tactic extended to family and friends, increasing the unbearable pressure to repay. The Panic of 1893 further exposed the vulnerabilities of a credit-based economy, leading to the Bankruptcy Act of 1898. This legislation eased bankruptcy terms for consumers and put restrictions on credit, making it harder for them to exploit the system for profit. So now we have a nation in installments. By the early 1900s, a new kind of debt emerged, installment plans. Suddenly, cars, washing machines, and other expensive goods were within reach, tempting Americans to spend beyond their means. Sound familiar? The consequences of this easy credit became painfully clear during the Great Depression of the 1930s. Defaulting on these installment plans often meant losing precious belongings after months or years of payments, plunging families deeper into despair. Out of this turmoil rose consumer protection organizations, tireless in their fight for fairer practices. Their efforts culminated in the 1977 Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, also known as the FDCPA, a federal law that finally curbed, or at least attempted to curb, the abusive tactics of debt collectors. In recent decades, the creation of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, also known as the CFPB, also brought stronger regulation oversight to the industry. The story of debt in America is one of hardship, resilience, and the constant struggle of balance between borrowers and lenders. It shaped migration, influenced laws, and even touched the way we think about money and opportunity. Now, if you have any questions about the FDCPA or other statutes or any other consumer protection matter, we're happy to help. Give us a call or reach out at cliffcarlsonlaw.com.